Elaine, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me.
So why don't you give everyone a quick background of how you guys got to where you are, what your role is, obviously, and just a little intro.
All right. My name is Elaine Damschen, and I am the president of Mainstream Electric Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, an Idaho corporation located in the Spokane Valley. We've been in business for 21 years, and we're a home services business.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I reached out to you because I'm the marketing director now at Webfoot Painting, and we're based out of Bend, and we have an office in Portland, Boise, and soon to be Salt Lake City and Eugene. But from the first time, my wife is from Coeur d'Alene originally, and my wife and I moved up here, so she was coming back home, and I was, settling down here for the first time. But I saw Mainstream everywhere. I was like, who is this company? Because obviously you guys are electric and HVAC, is that right?
And plumbing.
And plumbing.
And drains.
And drains.
And duct cleaning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got a number of different things that I'm interested in diving into. But one thing that I found, or I'm assuming, is very parallel or analogous to us is marketing to homeowners, direct, business to consumer, and being just a great quality brand. And I've seen nothing but great comments and feedback and reviews for your guys' business. So it sounds like you've built quite a reputable and successful company from my perspective.
Well, I appreciate that. And we know that trust is built over time and we can lose it in a matter of moments. And just want to mention that my husband, Todd, who is also my business partner, born and raised in this area. And so raising our family and then owning and operating a business and employing folks in our area, I think that in itself, we strive for excellence.
Well, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys obviously understand the importance of building a reputation and trust, because I guess from my perspective, I don't see any other way to build a business than doing that. The first question I wanted to ask you is, because we're both in marketing and I'm fascinated by brands, kind of reflecting back on your childhood or life, what was the first brand that you remember being connected to?
I laughed at this question because the brand that I connected with as a child was McDonald's and the Golden Arches.
And why? Tell me more about that.
Do you know, my mom flew to Spokane, Washington in 1969, bearing a child, and that's me. And when she landed, and so I could be born as a U.S. citizen, and my dad finished in the Army, we did not have a lot of money. They were just started with a brand new family. And when we got to have a treat or go out, going to McDonald's was a really special opportunity for our family.
That's awesome. How has that affected how you market or run your business at all?
100%. Reflecting on McDonald's brand as well as their operations absolutely does play into how Mainstream brands as well as runs our business operationally, yes.
Can you give me a specific example of that?
Absolutely. So when we see McDonald's and people recognize the Golden Arches, we automatically know, gosh, that's McDonald's. And so when I do branding and marketing, and I don't remember what book I got this from in reading about marketing when we first started, because I don't have a background in marketing. We approach marketing and branding with a singular focus. How do we put into consumers' minds that Mainstream is the only option, even though we have many competitors in the market? So that talks about marketing and branding with McDonald's. And then, of course, operationally, that speaks for itself.
Yeah, the McDonald's University I've heard
Yes.
stories of.
Yep.
So you guys have implemented something as far as training and onboarding people that's more sophisticated than competitors, I would assume.
We hope so. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What was the first job and the worst job that you ever had?
So my very first job was actually just out of high school. I did graduate from Post Falls High School, and I was a waitress at GTX Truck Stop, right on Barker,
Oh,
off of Barker Road. It no longer is standing.
that's awesome. And how about the worst job?
And it's funny, I've had very few jobs. I've had at my age one handful of jobs, and there's not a job that was my worst job. I haven't had one, so I'm super blessed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what are you most proud of in regards to mainstream, like what you guys have established?
Oh my goodness, there's so many things that I'm most proud of. I'm just going to name a whole bunch of things. Number one, I do believe that mainstream is a brand of excellence in our community. And when I say our community, I mean that in twofold. One, for our internal clients, which is our staff. We absolutely strive to be employer of choice, and as well as our external clients, which is our community that we get to serve.
Do you guys have a purpose? If so, what is that? And did that evolve over time, or is that something you're still working to try and discover?
So another twofold answer. That's a great question. What is our purpose? I would say when we first started business, Todd and I, 21 years ago, our for sure purpose was we were setting out to raise the industry. And what I mean by that, and we were only electrical for the first 15 years of business. And so raising the standard meant, how do we make the trades a more professional industry? We wanted to see the rates being raised because there's this time and material concept that just charging that would cover all of your business expenses, as well as our tradespeople earning a better living for themselves than maybe what people have imagined for themselves. So 21 years later, actually just this year, we took a moment to reflect on what we've accomplished, and we feel like we've won and accomplished that purpose. Almost every flat rate electrical company in our area can be traced back to mainstream because we trained most of them, and then they've gone off and started their own business. And there's more companies than ever that have raised their rates and are going with flat rate pricing. And we see tradespeople standing taller, and I believe we've brought more awareness to our consumers that their home is their palace and that they can create and live in something amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're
So,
going to say something else?
oh, and I was just going to say, and on a smaller level, our other purpose is it's not what we do, it's how we make people feel. And I do believe that this is what make mainstream different, is that it's heart and human connection first, which is a softer skill. And then, of course, there's the business side and revenue and KPIs and all those things that we strive to meet and watch to grow.
Yeah, the reason I dove down into that purpose question is because I think something that resonates with me and I would say the owners of Webfoot is we have a very strong culture. The funny thing is that they've never really articulated the purpose before, and it's kind of like there's this belief that there obviously is a purpose. That's what our assumption is.
Yeah.
We just have never like articulated like this is why we exist.
Yes.
But we have like, seriously great painting, because it started just as a painting company, was the motto, the slogan for a long time. And we were trying to like analyze what is that, because one of the things that we also feel is that having this clear purpose, or at least being vocal about it and being able to articulate it, helps people in deciding to work at your company, because it's not just this profit hungry monster, or like we're going to sacrifice all, like you said, making, how do people feel
Yeah.
at the expense of like making sure that we hit the bucket revenue or whatever.
Yep. And I would say, I guess it does start with Todd and me, then mainstream, and then nationally. I mean, the trades, electrical, heating, cooling, and plumbing, are responsible for the health and safety and comfort of our nation. And so it's through safe electrical, moving sewage away from the home, clean drinking water, heating and cooling. That, I would say, that is the umbrella purpose of what we do.
That's awesome. I mean, I have never, that's so interesting I'm like inspired hearing you say that, because it's like, yeah, wait, like if you think about like, I mean, I would say one of the things that makes America is
Yes.
like our quality of life, right?
Yes.
Which for most people is, I have a house, it's like a comfortable temperature. I have water that's in my house. I like sewage, and like the plumbing is taken care of.
Yep.
And yeah, like my house isn't going to start on fire because of some shoddy electrical work that was done,
Yep.
That's very interesting. I like the larger scale there, or picture scope of what you guys do.
Yep. And I mean, it's the difference between a first world country and a third world country.
Yeah, totally. So what is I'm curious with the home service industry. And it sounds like, as we're talking about this, there's maybe a distinguish between the trades, which you would say is, heating, cooling, electrical, plumbing. And then there's these other services that would be home services that are maybe less specific, but that's, painting, carpenters, garage door companies, siding, windows, roofing. But
Tilers,
would you
carpet
say,
layers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you distinguish yourself from that, or would you say that they're all kind of the same?
They're all the
Or
same.
in what ways are they different or the same?
Oh, I feel like, I mean, I'm not going to say I feel like, they are the same.
Yeah.
Anything that has to do with your home and updating it and keeping it updated, the trades.
So with the focus on the home service businesses or trade businesses, what is something that you like, I don't know if you could pick one, but a primary issue or a couple big issues that you see other home service businesses struggling with?
Gosh, let me take a look. So I am a true visionary at heart. And so a lot of how I speak today is going to be really high level. That's where my strong suits are. And I would say not just with home service industry businesses, but anyone who has a business, I see the biggest opportunity is, I'm going to make a statement and then I'll say what I see. But a business can only be as successful as its owner's mental limitations. And so what I see is that often I see owners who can't get out of their own way, and they're actually the bottleneck. Just like I've had to realize myself in my own business. And so I'll give you an example. We started this business in 2000, electrical only. We were going to change the world with the electrical industry. And so fast forward to about 2010 even, still running 4 to 6 trucks. Fast forward a few more years, still at 4 to 6 trucks, as a loose measurement. And when you go nearly 15 years we weren't doing the same thing. We were changing our tactics or our strategies. But when it's the same, it gets to a point to where we could only look at ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, it's us. It's us. And then to finally choose some different actions, like we switched infinity groups. We were with Success Group International, who was teaching us about business. Now we're with Nexstar Network and have been there with them for 9 years. Changing that energy, I went back and got an MBA. And what are some different things that raise our mental limitations that create space and allows the business to grow into that?
I first of all, I would say I agree. I've seen a number of, you talk to business owners, whether it's at conferences or with consultants, and there's this like frustration that they feel, and they haven't yet been able to step outside of themselves
Yeah.
to see that they are the cause of the frustration.
Yeah.
And they're just like, why is this not like you're angry at the employee or the system or whatever? And it's like, you did all that.
Yeah.
You
It's
put
all,
them all in place. Yeah.
it always comes back to me. Always.
Yep. That's awesome. What's you said Nexstar network?
Yes.
That sounds like an interesting thing. What do they do?
Nexstar Network has changed our lives and continues to change thousands of lives. They are an infinity group for electrical heating, cooling, and plumbing companies from all over the U.S. And currently we have over 900 members of other home service businesses such as ours of all different sizes. They range from 1 million in revenue up to 610 million in revenue. And it's success through education and sharing. So when we joined Nexstar Network, we got a business coach, a marketing coach, a finance coach, everything we could possibly build into our accountability circle, as well as turnkey lessons and an actual service system or a client-facing system that humanizes going in and fixing someone's electrical, heating, cooling, or plumbing. We meet twice a year. And Nexstar Network just delivers. They might do a deep dive on marketing and then, drill down and deliver that to us. And then our coaches turn around and hold us accountable to executing it. I've met John Maxwell. I've met Jaco. Anyway, they bring in lots of speakers. From Traction, we've met Gino Wickman. So it's everything business that brings this awareness to we don't know what we don't know, and they're working to put it in front of us. I've not met another organization of humans, not just their staff, but over 900 members were like-minded and as invested in the success of my business as we are in each other's business. It's been such a blessing.
That's awesome. The Webfoot, the only thing, because I'm going to look into this further, it sounds like a really cool organization. But Webfoot is, and you can tell me if this is exactly or similar. There's a group called Nolan Consulting that started a mastermind type of group. I think there's like 150. It's painting, landscaping, and construction businesses is their focus. And they have business coaches, and it's the value, from what I understand, because I'm still only 2 years at Webfoot, is that it's more of the collective knowledge sharing between businesses. Obviously, having a coach is helpful, but getting to level and talk to the other painting company owner on the other side of the United States, or the one in California or Florida or Nebraska that has similar struggles and issues. That's where, from my understanding, that the real value of this has come from. And Gavin and Travis, the owners of Webfoot, have just raved about the day that they joined Summit. If you look at, and again, it's not about the revenue, but the revenue is the indicator of the other factors of the business. Mm-hmm. Their revenue was just like, going along. They joined Summit, and then it just started trending upwards at a much, much faster rate. And we've maintained a healthy business. I think that was 9 years ago or 7 to 9 years ago that happened, in my understanding. But does that, from what I'm describing of this Nolan Consulting, is it similar to that? Or would you say that there maybe is something different about Nexstar?
It does sound very similar. Just a side note, I've been on the board of directors of Nexstar Network for 5 years. I'm on my last year of serving that board. And one thing that we measure as an organization is called an engagement. It's like an engagement survey. And so we've dialed in 19 KPIs, I guess, that we measure companies who are part of Nexstar Network. And our numbers indicate that the more engaged our companies are, there's a direct correlation to the company's growth and profitability. I mean, there's just no denying it.
And engaged meaning like Facebook groups or conversations or going to meetings or asking questions, working with their coaches. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep. So just a couple of them would be, yes, attending the national meetings. Another one is, have we formed a personal board of directors where we've connected with a handful of companies across the U.S., and do we meet regularly by phone as well as going to each other's shops to help each other be better? Or another example would be, do we hire their trainers who might train on sewer sales or electrical sales or the actual customer service system, or the recruiter? Like, we just had the recruiting coach come and work with our staff to dial in our process, or call center. And so there's scores that go along with all that. And that's some examples.
Oh, that's awesome. Love that. I think just having that open-minded, like, have you heard of the book Mindset, Carol Dweck?
I love that book. Yeah.
That's one of my favorites. Is just basically, at the end of the day, are you fixed or are you growth minded? Like, which one? And the growth minded person is always like, the difference between me and this other person that I view as further along or successful or whatever in any capacity. In the way I would articulate it is, they just have had more failures, more experience, more like opportunities to learn and grow and educate themselves and get better.
Yep.
And that's what it's going to take, right? So if you want to get somewhere, what are you consuming? What are you trying? Who are you talking to? And how open are you to changing your current belief structure or systems or whatever to improve? But I love that.
And it goes back to, a business can only be as successful as its owner's mental limitations. And so that's an example. The entrepreneurs themselves have to have a growth mindset.
Totally. So it's an interesting question. I heard this asked one time, and it could be perceived as bragging, but I think this is a good way to ask it. I don't perceive it as bragging, to be clear. Of all the things that you know, is there any particular topic or subject that you feel potentially you could be the leading expert on? Like, you'd be in the running for, Elaine knows more about blank than anyone else.
So I like how you rolled it out, because I actually would have said, because I'm a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all, I wouldn't have had anything to respond with. But what I did reflect on this question the most, and I would say I'm the leading expert on, it's not what we do, it's how we make people feel that's memorable. And succinctly said, I would say heart and human connection.
And I'm assuming not only the statement of that, but implementing that so that the employees can like pick up the torch and go deliver it, essentially, and make the customers actually feel it.
Yep. So to give you some examples, my background actually in my first life, I was a school teacher, and I taught middle school, sixth grade for 5 years, and then 7th and 8th grade for the next 3 years. And as a school teacher, it was super important to me to know that I touched base with every single student every single day, so that they didn't feel invisible, and I helped give them a foundation to feel self-confidence. And so when I translate that to business, we do have an energy plan for our leadership team, and I lead that. And every single day, I'm in the parking lot with the technicians, and I don't plan anything like between 7 and 9 a.m. because to me, nothing is more important than learning about my staff spouses, how their children are doing, what are they experiencing at home that's causing them to not, be focused, and what's distracting them, and just being that sounding board. And I have gotten to the point to where I come every day, not because I have to, and I didn't feel like that before, but I think sometimes with business growth, owners can think, I don't have to be there as much. And that's fine for some businesses. it is so important to me that I'm here every single morning because I don't want to miss an opportunity to connect with my staff. I work for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Would you say that was this something that you realized or acknowledged pre Nexstar, or there's a group before Nexstar that you mentioned, but was there a time where this was not as obvious to you, and all of a sudden you were like, oh my gosh, I did this with my students. Why am I not doing it with my employees?
Oh my gosh, for sure. I mean, on the struggle of business leadership, and so I'm really heavy on human connection, and I know how to read the numbers, and I know that the numbers tell me what to do. So I know that's a weakness of mine. And so I build people around me who can fill in those gaps. I for sure learned that skill when I was teaching. And the other thing that I know is I have been a studier of Tony Robbins for the last 6 years. And Tony Robbins talks about the triangle: state, story, and strategy. And the state in which we're in determines the story that we tell ourselves. And the stories we tell ourselves determines what kind of strategies and decisions that we make for life and business. And so, I'm so trained, I can't even think of an example where I've made a bad decision because I was in a low energy spot. But I just know that if I can help raise my staff's energy because I have good and high energy, I'm hoping that they'll have a positive image of mainstream and delivering positive stories and then making positive decisions when they're out there. I mean, it's just a true scientific correlation.
Yeah. So you mentioned an energy plan just a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, I'm assuming that's not like electrical energy
No.
that you're going,
No.
You're talking about the energy plan of like, how do we impact the energy of our leadership team,
Yes.
so that they can then go do that with the people they manage and so on, and they can go deliver that to the customers. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So what does that, fill me in on, what does an energy plan look like? How do you affect someone's personal level of energy?
It is so, I'm not even 100% sure because people tell me that I'm the one who brings it. And so when I'm gone, they say that it is missing. To me, it really is that commitment to go in and have even if it's a 30-second conversation with every single person. And so we ask our leadership team to butts out of seats. Like when I was teaching, I knew if my bottom was in the seat, I was going to have some disciplinary issues. And so I just never sat down. Proximity is power. And so we have the same expectation with our leaders that we're out there positively impacting and connecting with them. And the energy plan really is some really good upbeat music. It's a simple recipe: upbeat music, make eye contact, and have genuine conversation with as many people as we can, especially in that first hour.
Of each day?
Of every day. Not once a week, every day, of whoever chooses to come here.
And that's because crew leaders could show up to the shop to restock, or maybe they don't need to come in that morning or whatever, but there's frequency of people showing up,
Yes.
Planning out their day, getting all the stuff they're going to need. And that's when you're just like calibrating and setting everybody up for their day ahead of them.
Yep. Or last night, sometimes if I feel a little disconnected, we have a remote dispatcher out of Boise, and I just have this intuition about it. I don't even know how I got it. And so I'm like, on Monday, I said, bring Carrie up from Boise. And I just spent the evening last night at dinner with our dispatchers. And Sunday night, I'll go take our call takers to dinner. It's a lot of personal interaction on my part. And I don't do it because I feel like I have to. I just have the philosophy that when I die, I can't take anything with me other than how I've impacted people and left some sort of legacy or my spirit behind.
That's awesome. I think that, yeah, just it's one of those things, or when, as you're saying all this, I feel like it's nothing groundbreaking.
No.
It's like, it's very simple, but it's very hard to do it consistently.
Yeah.
You've got to every single day. And I think that obviously this is something that's genuinely a natural, like an intrinsic thing that you would do.
Yeah.
And I think you would be able to sniff that out and see like an owner that's trying to,
Yeah.
but isn't really in it or doesn't really care. They're just like, somebody told me to play music and smile at people, so that's why I'm here. It's like, that's
sure.
that's not going to have the same effect.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's awesome. Diving in.
Can
Oh,
I
go
add?
ahead.
I'm going to add one more thing. Is also it's super important as leaders, or I'm going to say human beings, because this goes with anybody. It's important to listen to understand versus listening to respond. So that
We call that active listening versus already listening.
yeah,
It's probably the similar
Yeah.
thing, that you're not trying to like come up with a response as someone's talking to you.
yep, definitely. Lots of empathy
Love
too.
that. So going deeper into the marketing stuff, I just love specific tactics and stuff.
Yes.
And one of the things I noticed, I think one of the first times that I really like took a second look and was like, okay, who's doing this? This is like, there's some creative stuff going on here. Was I saw a billboard that you guys had for hiring, and I can't remember the title now because this was at least a year ago, maybe even longer. But it was basically like freakingawesomejobs.com. Maybe that was
Yep.
it, or something close to that.
Yep.
Was that what it was?
Yes.
And you guys had a campaign, and the billboard just said like, I think it was pretty much just that, and there might have been one or two other words. But I was like, okay, I because I knew of mainstream, I was like, and we're talking about hiring at Webfoot. I was like, I want to understand what their funnel is, like what's the strategy. So I went there and saw you had this landing page and stuff. That's a specific example of the marketing that you guys are doing and thinking outside of the box.
Yep.
Can you tell me about that campaign, first of all? And did that work? Where did the idea come from? Anything else notable on that?
Oh my goodness. Well, I would say that first of all, we can all relate to shortages of, we hear we can't find staff, or, I can't find any electricians or painters or whatever that is. And so this is so funny. I used to assume that our community knew that we were always hiring. And at some point within the first, it took me 10 years, so I'm a bit of a slow learner. But I think maybe gone to a Coeur d'Alene chamber meeting, and I thought, I'm going to tell every single person I'm looking for electricians. And the response was overwhelming, that they didn't know, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's so great to hear. I'm going to help you spread the word. And so my aha moment where that started was, we have to speak it, and we have to speak it out loud and proud, because otherwise people don't know. So that was the initial spark of that campaign. And as crazy as this sounds, because I live it, I feel like I'm divinely guided. Freaking awesome jobs. I just saw the phrase somewhere, and I thought, I'm going to snag it and see if it's available. And it was. And so I think how I would describe it is, when we get that internal inspiration of, gosh, I want to do that, and often we ignore it, or I'm going to write it down and do it later. I've trained myself to take action on those little inspirations that I get, like right now. And
that was the beginning of it.
That was the beginning of it. And then moving forward, so I have this funny thing called a spark. So sorry if this is long and drawn out, but S stands for speak it out loud. So that's what happened when I shared the aha. P is mindful prayer of, okay, yes, this is what I need to do. So I secured the URL. A is take action. And that part I believe is missing in a lot of folks' plan. You have to take massive action. So we secured the URL and had the website built. R is reflect. And in that reflection, we decided, hey, we're going to become the employer of choice. we have to raise our hourly rate and have bonus plans that are better than anyone in our market. We are going to have the best 401k. We do a 4% match, and we are going to have the best benefits. So while other companies, to keep their rates low for their employee, we pay more per employee so that they can have a $1,500 deductible. If they want to pay the $50 difference, they can have a $500 medical deductible. So we're paying more and thinking about how do we keep more money in our employees' pockets as they help us grow and work so hard. How can we give back? Because it's reciprocal and it's perpetuating amongst many other benefits. And then K is keep going. So that's my spark for
awesome.
For everything that I do.
So with that, the thing that I love the mapping of like, okay, where am I at? What happened? What needs to happen next?
Yep.
What is or can you fill me in on like the rest of the team? So like you had the idea, you go buy the domain, but now there needs to be a website built. There needs to be a video. There needs to be a form and the processes and tying that to the HR team and stuff. How do you get like those things mobilized? Do you have an in-house, creative team? Do you have an agency that you're like, hey, here's my idea, go turn it into a physical website that people can go visit? There's the billboards. Like, who does all that stuff?
So I'm going to say up until March of this year, I did it all. So I do have an assistant and a graphics designer on staff. She's half IT, half graphics. And up until this year, I was doing it all. So the website was Frickin' Awesome Jobs. The website was built internally. And then, I was HR as well. And so I just kind of started to map it out internally. Now, fast forward, I have a marketing management company so our businesses last year grew 68%. We've grown another 73% this year. So we're having really fast growth. And I finally had to say uncle and say, I don't know how to keep on the demand of making the phone ring or create opportunities for our technicians, which I feel very obligated to do if I'm going to bring them on staff, right? And so I have a marketing management company. So I'm going to speak twofold here. The marketing management company right now, we do everything by the numbers. How big is the audience? How much did we spend? What's our return on investment? We all now have that mapped into Service Titan, which is what we use for our internal technology. And we can quickly at a glance make decisions and decide, what's working and what's not. So not only is return on investment one measure with them, but also, how many calls are we, how many demand calls are we creating by trade? So I meet with them once a week, and they have our 2022 marketing plan laid out. And so our marketing includes, sorry, I'm all over the place. Our marketing plan includes TV. Well, let me back up. When I went to this marketing company, they vetted all the vendors that I was using, determining if we could continue to scale at the pace that we were. We decided together that the vendors that I had could not help get us to the next level. So in September, we just finished changing out all of our vendors. So here's what we have. We have television. We have someone who is looking actually at the data. How many viewers do we have in placing our TV plan in place? Here's a little nugget. At Mainstream, we only run 15-second TV spots because you can get twice as many spots on TV that way. Frequency is key. So remind me to come back and talk about TV and how we started with that if we didn't feel like we could afford it. So we have TV. Billboards are new. Also, traffic is measured by my new media planner and media buyer. And when we determine that there's enough traffic, then we go ahead and put the billboard up. We determine the concepts together, and then my internal graphic designer does that for us, and then she has it printed and installed. So we have TV, we have billboards. We've not done radio in this area in a long time. Our new media buyer has shared, at least for the demographic that we're working to hit, that not yet. So we're not doing that. And I would say direct mail has been huge. We do not use direct mail to get new clients because there's like 0.25% return on investment for new prospects. So we use direct mail 4 to 6 times a year to folks in our database. We got to stay in front of them for top of mind awareness. But I will also say we know it's working because it's been like 10 years that we have about 65% repeat business, and our goal is to increase that by 5%.
So 10 years of history, you've been at 65% of your work is repeat, and you're trying to get to 70%?
Yes. Yep.
That's awesome. So is that it? You guys, TV, billboards, radio, direct mail, and is there any other marketing platforms or mediums that you're playing with? Nothing on social? I'm assuming you do Google Ads, but everybody does that.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I forgot about that. Yes. So, yes, Google Ads. Website. Here's another thing. Here's another nugget. Reviews are so important. We have to ask for them. I had an aha moment this year. So we've been doing this. We call it happy checks. After every single service, we have a single staff member dedicated to calling every single client that we've been to. And we say, hey, Joe was just Mainstream was just at your home. We're calling to make sure you're 100% satisfied. And do you have any questions or concerns? We're trying to flesh out on the front end. Are you happy? Did we, make you mad? Did we forget something? Were our technicians sloppy so we can turn them around right then and there? There's a direct correlation to the number of 1-star reviews that we get in a time frame. I can guarantee now when we start getting those 1-star reviews, I'm like, happy checks aren't being done.
And I'm assuming that they're never like major issues, but someone's like, yeah, they said they were going to do this and it doesn't look like what I was expecting. And then you flag something and someone gets in touch with them and resolves that.
Yep. We have this whole ecosystem in Mainstream, and so we have the person who's the happy checker, and when she calls, then it might be something as easy as, hey, I didn't get my emailed invoice, or, oh, can I run my credit card? I wasn't comfortable leaving it with a technician. It can be something as big as, because we are not perfect by any means, we left a gouge in there, brand new, tile when they just moved into their home. And so that way we can respond on the front end and be proactive. Does it 100%? Well, let me back up. So sometimes we do get escalations. We're working through one right now where the furnace and air conditioner is not Lennox, and we installed Daikin. And so it escalates to a resolution specialist. If that doesn't work, then it goes to our leadership team. And then if for some reason that doesn't work, then it escalates to Todd and me. And we get involved. And I'm going to say that there is nothing more important to me than a satisfied client. And that's internal and external. And I don't care what you're working on. We better drop it and tend to it, capital N, capital O, capital W, with 5 exclamation marks. Because we want to reduce that person's bubble. And especially if it's on a Friday and they're thinking about it all weekend, you know what's going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
That. Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Okay.
That position, the happy check, is that the director of happy checks? What's that title called?
We call her happy checker and resolution specialist.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a because well, I could go on and on about reviews, but I think I 100% agree that people make decisions based on that. Like
Yeah.
it's literally it's like on Amazon or going to a movie or a grocery store or sorry a restaurant. It's just like how many reviews they have. Oh, they got some great feedback and it's recent and looks authentic, and that's a lot of times all that we need to make the decision to go with something. I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So good. This is fantastic. So another question I have is the 866-411 zap.
Yes.
What was I feel like that's something that is a big piece of your guys's marketing. It's probably been in place for a long time. What's the story behind that?
So, my husband, Todd, he's an amazing visionary, and he's the one who really comes up with a lot of our out of the box ideas. And he kept reflecting on 800 Got Junk, because he's like, that's so brilliant, because they've got their phone number, they've got the website, and it's top of mind. And so when he came up with that like 15 years ago, and then we decided to make our URL was that we're moving it to Mainstream Home Services, because we've been having difficulty organically ranking because of that combination. So we are moving away from that online. It is our vanity number still, but that number was available, and so we implemented it as our phone number, our website URL, and then we actually had a jingle writer write a jingle. So it's 866-411-ZAP. That's the number to know. 866-411-ZAP. You're good to go. If you're skeptical about your electrical, anyway, it goes on. And we haven't had it rewritten. And we're not sure that we're going to as we move in the direction of Mainstream Home Services. But during the recession, because media buy, when everyone else was pulling away from marketing, because they're, of course, out of fear, we leaned into the fear, spent the money with a lot of sleepless nights. Media buy was so cheap. I think cable was like $2.50 a spot, and then they'd match it. And so we were on thousands of times a month of us singing that jingle, our staff.
That's awesome. And I see now you guys have it on your truck, and you obviously the domain. The thing I was going to ask about that is there's certain things in marketing that I feel like that you can't. It's hard to like present hard, solid numbers like make us feel good. Like confident on our ROI, and this is one of those things where I feel like it's hard to know like how much of an impact it played unless you looked at like macro, like over the course of several years or something like that.
Yeah.
But we were at Webfoot. I was before I got here. We have 833 Webfoot is a vanity number that we have what we bought, and we haven't really utilized it. I don't think, or like really promoted or made that something that is easy to remember and whatnot. But I'm assuming that the other thing that I'm interested in is in the overstructure of your business. In our business, we have there's some repeat business, and in the painting side, especially that's just in Bend, we have decks and carpentry and heat cables and interior and exterior painting. So it's more frequent it's more easy to have repeat customers on that side.
Yeah.
But then we have this concrete side. That's the one that's scaling.
Yeah.
And that's like you get a $4,000 or $5,000 coating for your garage floor.
Yep.
And then you're good. There's not really a need to remember a number or like, oh, next time I need to coat my concrete, which, it's not as frequent. With your business, you have like the plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC. There's things that require annual maintenance. And so it's much easier to, or much more valuable maybe to have something like that people just remember when it's like, oh yeah, my furnace, I haven't had that checked, and then they know the number.
Yep.
Is that in line with how you think about that?
Yes. So, I mean, the main thing was to get it into people's brains, right? And so let me speak to that for just a moment, and then I'm going to transfer to the concrete conversation. I knew that the 866 Zap was working, and even though we don't play it anymore, that it's still working. I was in Italy 5 years ago with some friends and met a mom and daughter team, And when she saw me, she goes, "Oh my gosh, you're 866-411 Zap." We hadn't run it in a lot of years. And so I know it's in people's minds because we played it so much. So, but the second thing is, and I would challenge you guys to have the mindset that you create your own weather. So let me give you an example. So it's COVID. Everyone's working from home. There's a lot of fear, and a lot of HVAC departments closed down because we didn't want to be in people's homes. Todd and I got with our leadership team and we said, we are not succumbing to this. We weathered the last recession, and we feel like it's more important than ever to continue with water heater flushes and HVAC maintenances because people are home now and using their home more. So they need the services more. And so, of course, we honored the folks who wanted to be at home. But we also had a team that rallied around us. And during the spring of 2020, our HVAC install crews did not have one day off. I'm sure to their dismay, because we were outbounding during a time to our existing database during a time where people were staying home and didn't feel like, it was important. We made it important. We cascaded it through visible leadership. Our staff knew it was important that we stay open, and we served our clients, the ones who wanted us to. So that's an example of make your own weather. So I don't know the concrete business, but what are some accessories or something that can branch off that you can make valuable by the way it's marketed and keep it in front of your clients?
Yeah, the additional whatever, it could be customer service related or just value adds, I don't know, garage storage or who knows what, but finding other things that are going to be valuable to the customers that we already have.
Absolutely.
Was that, I'm assuming that with electrical, how many years did you say you guys just did electrical?
15 years.
And that was, the start date was what year?
May of 2020.
May
of 2000. Sorry.
May of 2000. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like doing the math in my head. Wait a minute. So May of 2000.
Yep.
15 years only electrical. And then was this a similar path for you guys? Like, we have this great business. People are really happy with the service that we're providing. What else can we do? And then you decided to add on totally different business units because you don't have your electricians going and do plumbing, obviously.
Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah. So you have to decide we're going after this and make it a thing and scale those new business units, right?
Yep. So Nexstar Network, as I mentioned earlier, is a huge proponent. So we look at marketing at mainstream as if our company's a Parthenon, right? And so if we only had that one pillar of electrical holding up the roof, if something happened, then that takes out the pillar takes out the whole business. And so we made the decision that we wanted to make this a stronger business by having different pillars and business lines, which is also what Nexstar teaches, just working to give a visual so that if one department's not doing well one month, that the other two departments can pick up where it's, dropping off.
Totally. No, that's an interesting thing is that Webfoot and Ben was painting forever.
Yeah.
Like 12 years-ish. Similar, sounds like maybe a similar path to you guys. And then they were like, what other services complement painting? So then they added like, we could, install a door or, retrim a window. And that was the start of the carpentry. And then we were like, if we're doing an outside of someone's house, their deck's not in good shape, so we can refinish decks.
Yep.
And then the deck boards are deteriorating. So now we got to replace the deck boards. And now all of a sudden we now have the largest Trex installer in Central Oregon because we do, it's just, so it's grown organically in that capacity.
Yeah. But
the concrete business is just a single service that's getting scaled.
Yep.
And so at some point, I do think you're right that the conversation needs to go around, fine, if you're scaling something, great. But then when you stabilize in your markets, what else are we going to do to take advantage of the great reputation and brand that we have there?
Oh my gosh, I'm thinking heated driveways needs concrete. What about that lovely colored stuff on the ground? But then they have concrete countertops. I don't know if you guys do that, but
So we do coding. But we
Coding.
don't
Okay.
install concrete. We do
Gotcha. Gotcha.
exactly like what you're talking about, the
Yeah.
chip systems and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, but I love how your mind works around this stuff.
So when I was a school teacher, and in my training, we really looked at how the kids learned, right? There's visual, auditory, and then there's hands-on. And so when I taught my lessons and put my lessons plans together, every single lesson had to touch each of those learning styles. And so what I do want to say about marketing is I'm not really about tactics. I'm really about strategy. And so it is, how do we reach each type of learner in the marketplace so that they're getting to know mainstream visually, auditorily, and then hands-on. But in addition to that, there's something called TOMA, which is top of mind awareness. And so how do we build TOMA in our community that if there is an electrical, heating, cooling, or plumbing need, and the spark is, oh, I need to call Mainstream Home Services, I know that a student, for example, it takes 7 to 9 times can take up to 7 to 9 times for something to become top of mind aware. And so when I'm trying something new, I'm like, okay, how can I get this out 7 to 9 times in a shorter amount of time so that we become top of mind aware? So that's why you have TV, it's auditory and visual. We have direct mail. We want to be in front of our clients 4 to 6 times. So that's visual but hands-on because it gives them something to hold. We have the auditory when our happy checker calls. And so it's very strategically planned out, the whole customer service experience when they finally call us to hit 7 to 9 times mainstream. But then our follow-up aftercare is also developed so that they're hearing from us or seeing us or experiencing us 7 to 9 times. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm assuming, I'm a big proponent of automation, and you can't have like someone that's doing all of this for, like, I guess a pre-question to that would be, so in a month, how many different customers do you guys interact with? I don't know, or a week, whatever's easier, just like a rough approximation.
Gosh, I would say like 1,200 clients in a week.
1,200 in a week?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that if each one of those are getting then a follow-up postcard or something, you have a great system in place and it's scheduled. It's not like, what should we send out in the mail this month? It's like, no, they got served, or we worked with them on, December 1st. So on January 1st and then March 31st, I'm assuming you've got a cadence that's just running. Yep. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
And do you plan like, oh, all of our electrical clients are now going to get heating and then plumbing and then something else, and all the plumbing clients get, so you're trying to like cross-pollinate or introduce other services that maybe they haven't had?
So that happens while the technician is in the home. And I'm going to have a side note. We're known for the electrical industry because we've been around so long. I spend $0 on electrical. I don't even have electrical turned on pay-per-click. All of our marketing efforts right now are focused through plumbing, heating, and cooling. So yes, direct mail and television, pay-per-click, those are the main ones, as well as our technicians doing I guess I call it cross-pollination or cross-education.
Yeah. And what is the I'm like very, and this is specific, so maybe you don't know the name of the softwares, but how are you guys actually automating direct mail to go out?
Well, we have a marketing management company, and so we don't do it individually. We just have a cadence where it's planned in advance. And so we just know it goes out. It has to go out 4 to 6 times a year to our database. We just know that. Yeah. And we just recently, I'm a little bit behind on technology, and we're just now starting to use email marketing as well.
Love it. Yeah, one of the things that I was pretty excited about, and we haven't done the 4 to 6 times a year thing, but we started So if you were a homeowner and you said you wanted, you were going to purchase a concrete floor or coating, we would send out, we have this automation to a vendor that automatically sends out 25 mailers to the nearest 25 houses that says,
Ooh, yeah.
hey, someone in your neighborhood just bought a floor coating. And then after the product's installed, that same mailing list gets hit with another one that says, so that someone in your area just got their coating installed, and there's a call to action or promotion or something like that. But what you're making me think about is, should more of that money be directed towards existing clients, because there is such a small, like if they've never heard of you, you're just another piece of junk mail. But if you have worked with them, what else could we be saying to those customers that we have worked with that's maybe going to be more effective than, just shotgunning to the nearest people? Because the assumption is, if this guy wanted it, theoretically, he's in an area that the other people around would also want,
Yeah. And I love that. We grew our business on that. I was the one looking up the 25 addresses and handwriting. So it's super effective. I mean, we've done that too. In fact, I know I'm going to email you about your automation, because that came up a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, God, why did we stop doing what works?
Because it's hard sometimes. I'm like, so, handwriting certainly is going to get a far better open rate than doing just, the standard robot, like piece of mail or whatever.
Yep.
But finding that balance of like, how do we customize it just enough so that someone is like, oh, this was not just a Coeur d'Alene blast, but there is something relevant, like someone near me, or it's like the real estate agents that send out the, just listed in your neighborhood or whatever. It's like, it's going to get a little bit more of the brain's attention than just hire me as an agent with no context,
We do know though that, repeat business, we have a great repeat rate that's been coming back for a lot of years. And you said 65%. That sounds amazing. And direct mail to get a new prospect is a quarter, historically for us, a quarter of 1%.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's
response.
I mean, I believe that, but the direct mail response is very, very low. All right. Well, I've taken an hour now of your time. I love this conversation. I had some other questions, but we will have to table those for another time. I'm curious, just the last couple questions that I ask everybody. Book recommendations. What you could either go favorite books, one that you recommend more than others, however you want to take that one.
Do you know my favorite book that changed my life was The E-Myth Revisited? I love that book. And I love it because because I'm in the trades, and my dad was a framer. So tradespeople, for example, in my family go in and start a business, but not really good on the business side. And it helped me identify the differences of working in the business and on the business, and to train myself over the years to stay focused in working on the business. Love it. One other book that I love, it's kind of where science meets spirituality, by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's Becoming Supernatural. And finally, The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. And just that I don't have to worry, as long as I'm, remembering my spark pathway and putting in the time and action, that the results will come.
That's awesome. Favorite movie?
With Will Smith, Pursuit of Happiness. And I don't know if you've seen it, but when he's in the bathroom sleeping with his son and worried, and I've had moments feeling like that, and that I can't keep going, and to keep going because 3 feet from gold, or success is around the corner, however we want to call it.
That's awesome. And I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I remember when I first watched it, it was I can't remember what the cadence was of the scenes in the movie, but I cried for sure. I was like tearing up because they just do such a good job of you feel the just like the desperation and I'm just as vaguely familiar, but there's a situation where he's like, someone's asking him for either a deposit or something to do with a car, and it's like he's right in between of needing, like, just doesn't have the $500 or the $1,000, whatever it would take to get over that hump.
Yeah.
And then stuff, aligns, and it's just like, it's such a good movie. I
Yeah.
need to watch that again.
So good. Hey, can I talk about really one more thing? Sorry, I love marketing. If you can't tell, during COVID, Mainstream, we started a not-for-profit called Miracles from Mainstream. The mission is to provide health, safety, and comfort to disabled, low-income, and elderly in our community. And Miracles from Mainstream provides the equipment, and then Mainstream does the installs. And I have partnerships in Spokane with SNAP, Catholic Charities. In Coeur d'Alene, I have New Beginnings. And these entities, when their funding runs out to help folks with water heaters or air conditioners, we go in and do pro bono work. I mean, sometimes we don't, because on the electrical side, let's say their electrical system's a rat's nest, and if we touch it, we have to bring the whole thing up to code, is how it works. And so sometimes we do have to walk away because of the liability. One of our very first jobs was a woman just before Thanksgiving. Elderly woman was keeping warm with hand warmers, and we came in and installed a brand new furnace for free for her. And we just have the belief that if we have the pleasure and honor of being in business in a community that supports us, we want and have to give back. It is a reciprocal relationship, and we can't only take, and we want to give back. So I'm in the process of making that a 501c3, and I think ultimately, as we grow, that's the seat I'll sit in so that we find more to give back to.
That's awesome. And I feel like that, back to that purpose thing, the purpose question is finding something like that is bigger than yourself, bigger than the company. That's what, in my opinion, inspires others to first of all, work at the business potentially as opposed to somewhere else that doesn't have some greater being or reason for existence. But then also maybe it's going the extra mile or doing the extra thing because they know that there's other goodness being propagated in the world because of Mainstream's existence. I think that's really awesome. And so if someone wants to get in touch with you, someone has a question or wants to reach out, how do you recommend that they do that? What's your preference?
I'll give you a couple different ways. First of all, my email is Elaine D, so Elaine D like dog, at 866-411-ZAP.com. Or I'm on LinkedIn as Elaine Heston Damschen, or Facebook or Instagram, same thing.
Perfect. Well, awesome, Elaine. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat today, and I love connecting with big-minded marketing people like yourself, and just really appreciate you sharing all the knowledge that you did today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the opportunity.